My name is Rodney. I live in Thailand. I've been in Thailand 6 years now. It took a long time for me to get used to living in Thailand, the different cultures, the way people live. Culture has a big thing with the way we live, the way we are, the way we think, the things we do. A lot of it comes from culture. We don't really know, we don't pay attention to it, it's just part of our life. When I went to Thailand and started seeing the culture there, after I got away from living with the Americans, there was a lot of Americans there when I first went. And after a few months of being in Thailand, I met my wife, Pimpa, and it wasn't very long after we met, about 4 months, we got married. We found out you can't work together and live together in Thailand as two single people. So we ended up getting married and working the ministry. We have a ministry there. We work with children. We work with the poor, the oppressed. But the thing that's impressed me the most the last 3 years is how simple life is there, how little we have, but yet how happy the people are. Even the ones that are poor and don't know God, they really are happy. A lot of them are. It's amazing. Whereas we here in America, we have so much, but yet we're constantly striving for more. So God has opened my eyes and showed me that I've lived such a selfish life over the last 50-some years. It's been just amazing to see what life is like with nothing. I mean, literally, I have nothing left in this world. I have one piece of land I'm going to sell in a few weeks, and that's going to be the end of it, thank God. It's not a good time to sell, but I don't care. I just need to get rid of it and be done with everything in the world. When I first came to Thailand, I had some money saved up, but God impressed upon me that I needed to use it for the ministry. So we did. And once we ran out of the funding I had, it was an amazing thing because as an American, you know, as the man in the family, you're supposed to take care of the family, bring in the bread, take care of the kids, bring in the food. And then you can't do that in Thailand. I can't. Legally, I couldn't work. You'd have to have a work permit. You're not even supposed to make money. Once the money ran out, the only thing we could rely on was donations coming in. My wife had done this kind of work for a lot of years before I met her. So she was used to it, living on faith. It's called living on faith. It's an amazing way to live, trusting God to take care of your needs. It's not like you can just quit your job. You have to be working for God. You have to be working for Christ. That's the main thing, the main point. If you're doing God's work, He will take care of you. That's the way He works. He doesn't take care of your wants. There's a big difference between your wants and your needs. Your needs are food, clothing, place to live, shelter. Those are kind of nice to have. It's not necessary, but it's kind of nice. So I've learned to be content with what we have over there. It's not like I'm any better than anybody else. It's just what God has taught me over the years. And the more you see and the more you hear about, and you remember back to where it was before living here in the States and all the stuff that we surround ourselves with and we think is important. It's not important at all. This is Satan's world. This is not our world. This is not God's world. God created this world. But it's not God's world. Satan has control over it. That was given to him by God. Control of this world, and we live in this world. We're living in Satan's living room, basically. I mean, this is his world. The heaven doesn't run on money. There's not going to be any money in heaven. This is Satan's world. So those of us that get attached to it and we worry about how we're going to live and how we're going to survive, and if we follow God's will, he takes care of all of that. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what job you're doing. Everybody has different jobs. Everybody has different things they have to do in life. Even if you're working a full 40-hour week, that doesn't mean you can't work with God, for God. Your purpose is to be a light in the community. We have to shine no matter where we are, no matter where we work, no matter where we live. We need to show people either by example, by living a good godly life, or by speaking to them, telling them about God. I have a hard time speaking about God to people. Always have had. But I know what I know. I know what I've learned in Thailand over the years. It's been amazing to see how God works with us, with Pimpa and I and the ministry and the children. We have just a small family, well, 15 kids. We just picked up Pimpa picked up another child last night. I'm in America, she's in Thailand right now. And I just feel the need to speak a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be any good or not. I'm not a speaker. I'm not a trained pastor. I'm just a Christian like everybody else. I just came to Thailand to help out. And I wasn't planning to stay forever. I went for 6 months and I've been there 6 years. It's been a very good life. But as Americans, we got to look at the money we spend on ourselves, and that's where Satan wants us to be. All the marketing, all the commercials, everything we think we need to have for life, everything that he wants us to have. He wants us to be chasing after everything else, so we don't have time for God. I got some scripture, and it's scary to me, some of the stuff that he's showed me. This stuff started coming over like a 2-week period. God's very specific on how we got to live in this world. It's not confusing. It's not a big secret. He gives it to us real easy, black and white. He spells it out in plain English. In 1 John, the book of 1 John, chapter 2, verse 15, it starts, "Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of God is not in him." Ooh. "Because all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, that's not of the Father, but is of the world." I used to think, what's the world? It's not the rocks and the trees. The world is the cars, cell phones, motorcycles, boats, toys. We all have needs. We all need food. We all need clothing. That's not a problem. But when we start looking to the other stuff, and it's not wrong to have stuff, but if we put that as first place above God, above God's work, then we have a big problem. We have a big problem. Satan controls this world. It says in 1 John 5:19, "We know that we are of God and all the world lies in evil." That means this is Satan's world. And he controls it. He has power over it. He wants us to believe that 80 years here is really important and we have to work hard and save our money and have our retirement. I know it doesn't make sense, but when everything is gone, everything that you have in the world is gone, that's when you have the most peace. I have nothing left, and it doesn't matter. I don't need money to survive. I mean, I live on the donations of you people. I work strictly with God every day long, and we do what God tells us. And it's an amazing way to live. You don't have stuff. You don't need stuff. You don't want stuff. All I need is food and a place to sleep. If I got a soft bed, I'm doing good. So if it says here in the Bible, if we're friends of the world, in James chapter 4, verse 4, toward the end it says, "Therefore, whoever desires to be a friend of the world is the enemy of God." Enemy of God if we're friends of the world. In America, most of us, we believe that we're good people. We're going to go to heaven just by being good. That's not the way it works. If we're not saved, we're not going to be going to heaven. We have to be doing God's will. We can't be living knowing what we're supposed to be doing and not doing it. That's sin in itself. It scares me, the part in Matthew, book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 13. "Go in through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction. And many there are who go in through it. Because narrow is the gate and constricted is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it." So all of us that believe we're doing good and we believe we're going to heaven, the majority of the people in America are not going to heaven. It says few will find the way. Few, not many. That's hard to accept, that most of us are not going to be there. Because we think we're doing what's right. We think we're following God. We think we're being good people. We're not hurting people. That's not what God says. We got to go beyond that. We have to let go of the world. We have to concentrate on what God wants us to do, not what we want to do every single day. It says we're supposed to treat others better than ourselves. That means we're not supposed to just love our neighbor. We're supposed to love them to the point that we want more for them than we do for us. That's a hard concept. It's like loving your enemies. That's a hard concept, to pray for your enemies. I pray for my enemies because I don't want them to be in hell. I don't want anyone to go to hell. It's not going to be a good place. But that's where most of us are going to be going, because we're listening to Satan and his lies about everything that we need to live and survive in this world. It's not rocket science. This is an easy thing to do. James chapter 4, verse 17. "Therefore, to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin." If we know what we're supposed to do and we don't do it, we're sinning just by that. We don't even have to have the stuff. We just have to want it, the lust. Or if we want to be somebody important, be somebody big, we have to learn to be content with what we have, to not want so much stuff. You buy a new toy, you get a new boat, you get a new motorcycle, you're so excited and happy about it, but how long does that happiness last? How long does it really make you happy? It becomes a burden. More and more burdens. We're good with burdens. We're good with a lot of stuff. I used to have a shop, 30 by 60, full of stuff. There wasn't even enough room to keep all the junk in there. Once you're rid of everything, then you're free. Then we are really free. We see so many people in need in Thailand. So many people. And we're not there to try and raise the standards of the people for the work that we do. We're just there to bring them to Christ. Show them the love of God. Help them out wherever we can. We don't work with a lot of funding. We don't have a lot to play with. We're not out to make people rich. We're not out to give them a great big house or anything fancy. Living over there is a lot different than living here. We don't need a lot of stuff. We're not in a cold climate. So you don't need a lot of clothing. You don't need a great big house. A lot of people live very poorly, very happy. They know God. They have a good life. We here, we're running around like we're crazy. And we think this is this is the way it's supposed to be. And if we just work a little harder, get a little bit more, then we're going to be happy. We'll get everything we want. That's what Satan wants us to keep us busy doing, so we don't have time to work for God. We are in for some big problems in America. We are the most sinful country in the world. We're the most sinful nation in the world. I know that because we have the most stuff and we have the most wealth. God has blessed us so much, but we don't use it for the right reasons. We use it for ourselves. God's not happy with us. He's going to bring us to our knees. The only way He can do that is through a lot of trouble. It's when we have big problems financially, the market crashes, finances go to pot, natural disasters. When all that happens, then we turn to God. If that's what it takes, then that's what He's going to do, because He'd rather we lose everything that we have in this world to save our souls. That's what's important. It's not all the stuff that we think we need. There's nothing wrong with money. It's the love of money. If that's all we care about, if that's what we think about, we're always trying to get ahead. We have to be content with what we have.